Good morning, everybody. Today we're going to do a tutorial on kids size masks. I have two sizes. The smaller one is good for anywhere from an 11-month-old to a 4 or 5-year-old, and the larger mask is suitable for 5 to about 12 years old, depending on the size of your child. Hopefully you find it helpful. If you have any questions, please post it in the comments and I'll be sure to reply. Thanks. Here's our two different size dimensions. For the smaller children, I'm doing 7 by 13 inches. And for larger children, I'm doing 8 by 16 inches. I am trying to keep the fabric fun because I think this can be a little scary for some kids. And at least if they think what they're wearing is cute and fun, maybe they'll be more likely to wear it. Okay, here we have our fabric, right side facing up. We're gonna fold it in half, lining up the edges. We're going to stitch down this side, leaving a gap in the middle big enough to get your fingers through, so about 3 inches. It doesn't have to be perfectly in the center, just so long as it's in the middle. Then you can get enough in there to slip in a filter later or turn it inside out. Okay, we've got our flat piece here. We're gonna open it up. Try to get your seam there to the middle. Just flatten it out with my hands, and we're gonna take this stitch that we just opened and we're going to press it open so it's flat. This is going to be the inside of your mask, the area where the filter slips through. Now take this and iron it. Back at the ugly ironing board, we're going to spritz it with a little bit of water. If you don't have water, it's not a big deal. Just makes it easier to get those wrinkles out. You can use steam iron too, that helps. Get it nice and flat. There you go. Okay, now we're going to stitch down each of these raw edges. We're going to leave about the width of a finger open at the top and the bottom. That's where you will slide your elastic through after we turn the mask inside out. I am back stitching at the edge of each stitch just to make sure it holds sturdy. Alright, there you go. Now we're going to take this and turn it inside out. So find the little hole that we made for your filter. Just stick your fingers in there. Use your thumb, push and pull gently. And then I like to take my fingers, poke out each corner. And then if you have a knitting needle like this, or a chopstick will work, or any kind of long straight thing, you can get up in there and just poke it out a little bit. Try not to turn your little holes for the elastic inside out, and that just gives you your square. Now you're going to take this and iron it flat. I am one of the lucky people in the world who owns a heat press. If you have a friend who does a lot of Cricut who owns one of these, see if you can borrow it. It'll make your life way easier than just straight ironing everything. It's just like a huge iron. I can put my mask in here. It saves me a ton of time because all I have to do is this and it's ready to go. Obviously, if you don't have one of these, just iron with a regular iron. Okay, now we're going to insert the elastic. I've been using 10 inches of 1/4 inch wide elastic. Unless it's a really small child, then I've been using some of these thinner elastics or this cording. It's a little bit easier on the ears. If you don't have any of this, you can use those large elastic headbands, the kind you see people wearing to the gym, and just cut it in half. This is one of my best tools, my hemostats. You can use a pair of tweezers, you could use a safety pin, all that's in my original tutorial. I'm sliding it through the hole at the bottom, and then out through the hole at the top. Pinching my elastic and pulling it through. So now we're going to do that on the other side. There we go. I just want to start by saying that I'm going to be using glass-headed pins. Glass-headed pins won't melt if you hit them with your iron, so they make things really easy. I got about 1,000 of them on Amazon for $11. It's a great deal. It's more than you could ever use. When I first started making masks, I had watched a tutorial from a hospital, and they were requesting masks with a 3-pleated fold. I've seen lots of cute masks made with flat fronts, but because that was what the hospital requested, and when I brought my design to my local hospital, that was what they approved. So I've stuck with the 3-pleated fold. It works really well for me. The first pleat on the children's is a little smaller than the adults. I just use my fingers, just like this. Try to get it around an inch, not that big a deal. Make sure you catch a decent amount of fabric in the pleat. You don't want it to be like this. That's not going to give you much to work with. I'm sticking my pins far from the edge. That way when I sew, I can run down the line without having to pull my pins out as I go. That saves me a good bit of time, especially when I'm making a huge pile of masks. And I'll tell you, sitting there pulling out pin after pin doesn't make your hands feel very good. So again, I'm just pinching and folding down, making sure I get a good little tuck of fabric there. I'm not concerned about the pleats being exactly the same width. That's not that big of a deal. I think it's more important that you just get a good little tuck of fabric. Now I'm down to the bottom. Sometimes this one ends up way smaller than the others. So I just go ahead and put it in. It's pretty uneven. That bothers me. So I take out the middle pleat and I'll just adjust it so it's a little more uniform. There you go. I'm gonna iron this, just spraying it. Because these are glass pins, I can go right over top of them. If you're doing this and you're not using glass pins, you're just gonna need to iron on either side. But because I got glass pins, we can just get to it. Okay, we're almost done. I'm going to stitch down this side, being careful not to stitch over my elastic. If it sounds like your machine is really struggling to get through, you've probably caught the elastic and you need to stop and pull it out. I'm going to stitch down, and then I'm going to back stitch. I'm going to stitch down, and then I'm going to back stitch. I'm going to stitch down, and I'm going to back stitch. That way we essentially have 2 full stitches running through the mask to make it nice and sturdy. Okay, now all you gotta do is take out your pins. Okay, so here's our finished mask. I've clipped the threads and taken the pins out. I pull the elastic like this just to make sure that I didn't accidentally catch it with my machine. The next step would be to tie these two in a knot. This, whoops. You tie it in a knot, put it around your child's face. See how it fits on their ears. You know, make sure it's snug. You don't want big gaps. You know, you want it to be fairly close to their skin. You know, if it doesn't fit right, take the knot out and adjust it. If the knot bothers them, you can tug it through and pull it through the little loop that you made so it's inside the mask instead of back on their ears. You know, you've probably seen a bunch of the stuff in the backgrounds of my videos. Aside from owning a quilting company, I also run a home daycare. I care for 3 families of essential workers, and I've been using the kids to try out the masks on. They love them. They fit them really well. So if you're ever wondering what the giggling in the background is, it's them. They're running around behind me as I'm making these videos. Not today because it's Easter, but anyways, they all seem to really enjoy their masks, and they're not afraid to wear them, which is great, because that's the biggest thing, is we don't want them to be scared to wear these. So I hope you find this video helpful, and if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. You can find me at My Quilts Kickass on Instagram, or Mary Kenyon's Coffin Quilts on Facebook, or you're welcome to contact me through YouTube if you need any help. Thanks.